My name's Thom. Fishing is my passion, and I've been at it since I was a kid.
I'm just a bit of a slave to it. Have been for years.
Normally, I like to control my environment for an easier life.
Come on.
But now, I want to leave my comfort zone behind.
The next 5 minutes is going to be critical.
I'm challenging myself to catch different species.
Oh, it feels decent too.
In places I don't know and against the clock. I want to genuinely test my angling skills.
That was mine, baby.
On my journey, I'll fish where I really shouldn't. Where the conditions are against me, where the chances of hooking anything are slim.
We must have 0 chance.
Or when I've simply got to work hard.
Feels like I'm pulling a whale up. Look at it.
I can beg a little assistance from experts with local knowledge.
Don't let me down on the net, Phil.
But that's all the help I'll get.
Yeah, hit it. Right.
This is my mission alone, and I must push myself to the limit.
Normally like catching them one at a time. Ah, yes.
If I'm going to succeed.
Oh, I've never seen a bream this big before. The trap is set. Yeah. Oh, that hurts. It hurts so much.
This time, I'm going to take to the high seas in one of the most beautiful fishing environments in the world. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's early March, and I've finally arrived at an insanely remote part of Norway. And I'm hoping to start my very first Norwegian fishing adventure. I'm in Nusfjord, one of the oldest and best preserved fishing villages in the Lofoten Islands. I'm not just here for the scenery though. This place has some of the best cod fishing on the planet and attracts anglers from all around the world. So I'm giving myself 5 days to catch a monster cod, and I'm hoping it's going to be the trip of a lifetime. Yeah, good to meet you. Now, the man who's going to help me catch my first Norwegian cod is Geir SIvertzen. Geir is even more mad about angling than me and has fished over 40 countries around the world. He's known to his friends as Dr.Hook, and you know what? I think we're going to get on like a house on fire. Anyway, fishing is for tomorrow. Right now, I need to get my head down. So this was my bed last night, up here in the eaves. And there are actually bedrooms downstairs, but it didn't seem very adventurous to me. So these are original fishing huts. They're over 100 years old. And they would have had fishermen and probably their families, but it's not only where they would live. This was also the office. Well, I say office. They would have had nets, lines, hooks. They probably had even their bait in here at times. It probably wouldn't have smelt too great. But I actually arrived last night in the dark. And this morning I woke up and dear Lordy, look at that. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't help but think that if I'd asked a Hollywood set designer to build the most perfect fishing village in the world, it would have to be this. Now, you probably start with some nice old warehouses and then maybe build a few fishermen's cabins, colour coordinated. And I'd probably think, let's put some mountains in the background. And well, there's nothing better than a snow-top mountain, so put a little bit of snow on. And then crystal clear water and lovely old fishing boats. And well, the people are just lovely here too. This really is the most picturesque place, possibly in the world. According to Geir, the weather here can turn in the blink of an eye, and he insists I wear a flotation suit, which, if I'm honest, makes me feel a little bit nervous. And this is standard kit in Norway?
Yes, for deep sea fishing, for ice fishing, for winter fishing at all.
Because this is pretty unusual for me.
Is it?
Well, it's cold in England,
Yeah.
but we would never wear anything like this.
You will love it.
If you fall over the edge,
Yes.
flotation suit.
Yes, it
Has
is.
that ever happened before?
No, we had never had anyone falling in the water.
If you do, what is the temperature?
3, 4.
How long do you think you'd last? 5 minutes?
You won't have fun.
Right. It feels quite unusual. If I'm honest, I'm a little bit apprehensive. 3 degrees water. The fishing's good, right?
Fishing is the best, I'll tell
In the
you.
world.
You'll see.
Right, I'm now feeling officially excited. Although I've been cod fishing in the UK many times before, the ones I hope to catch here will be several times larger than anything else I've caught before. The cod is one of the most popular eating fish there is and can grow to a monstrous 1 metre plus in length and weigh nearly 50 kilos. The challenge I've set myself is to catch a cod that is over 10 kilos.
Typically in Norway, we use something like this. This is 400 grams.
Right.
And,
That's about 10 times as big as I would use in the UK.
To catch the cod, we're going to be using a combination of lures. They come in all shapes and colours, but the one thing that strikes me is the sheer size of them.
This is a small one.
This is a small one.
Right. I mean, that represents something that must be certainly as long as maybe 12 ounces to a pound bait fish. So it's going to be a whopper to eat this. Look at that, black. I've never used black before. Is that a good colour?
Yeah, black, orange, everything is good here now.
Yeah.
So this has to be fished more aggressively. This one you can fish a little bit more slowly.
Right, okay. So, do you want me to do it?
No problem.
Normally, if I turned up and there was snow on a boat, I wouldn't go out. We'd be like, there's snow, we won't bother.
Sometimes we have to get this much snow out of the boats in the morning and sometimes more. Don't.
The water temperature's about 2 degrees. The air temperature's about 0. And we're heading out into rough seas to catch massive fish. And if you fall over the side, I don't even want to think about that. So I've got to pay attention today. Good?
Yep.
Here we go.
So with the boat swept and loaded, it's time to head out to sea. It's incredible to think that in just a few weeks' time, the islands will be rammed with 600 competitors, plus thousands of spectators who come here for the annual World Cod Championships. But today, it feels like I've got the whole of the Lofoten Islands to myself. Having spotted some fish on the sounder, it's time to drop our lures and get started. We're using a technique known as vertical jigging, which basically involves, well, you've guessed it, jigging our lures up and down.
Come on, fingers crossed.
Usually with cod, if they're gonna have it, it's gonna happen pretty quickly. So it's very much a case of try one spot, and if there's no luck, move on.
It's difficult enough just winding the lure up. I'm yet to get a fish on. Is it actually proving a little bit tricky? We've tried, what's this, the fifth? I was going to show you 5 fingers and say this was the 5th spot but in these gloves it doesn't quite work. It seems that every time we change location, we're only moving a few hundred yards, the weather seems to change. We've been through hail.
Yes.
Beautiful sunshine.
Yes.
A little bit of rain.
Absolutely.
It's very, very cold. I just want you to try and understand how bitterly cold this is. It's... Oh!
First fish. This is something very tiny. I don't know what it is.
So, first blood goes to Geir with what, in Norwegian terms, is something of a tiddler.
A baby one.
Baby cod. They start like this and then they grow bigger. And the biggest size is maybe 20 kilos, like the one I caught last year here.
Yeah.
Same place, 22 kilos. Yep. Okay.
It's a start.
With fish in the area, we decide to stay put, and it isn't long before Geir is into another one.
There's another small one, so I let it go back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, yes. Oh, first one on. I think we've got a problem. We're cod fishing, right? I've hooked a whale.
And whilst Geir's little one comes up quickly, my lump of a fish is having none of it.
It's going to be a while, yeah. It's right. I've only just got it off the bottom. Yeah. You got down with your heavier perk and hit the bottom, and you had a fish on before I even got to the bottom.
I did.
Well, if it's over 5 kilos, it's a personal best.
This is not 4 or 5 kilos. This is a monster.
Yeah. Yes!
Fantastic! You're the hero! You're the man!
Oh, I'm trying to keep my balance here.
You will see them bigger even.
Do you reckon?
Yes, you will.
This is good.
Guaranteed.
Over 5 kilos?
Yes, it is.
How big do you think?
7 kilos, I guess.
A new personal best.
I'll hold you.
Right. What? This is exactly what I came for. Oh, right, we're in the spot. I want to get back down again.
Yeah.
Let's get back down. Feels good.
And no, this first catch isn't going back. It will be ending up later on my plate.
I don't know, I've never caught on this big before.
People have been fishing for cod here for well over 1,000 years.
Now this is what I came to Norway for.
And to give you some idea of how prolific the cod stocks are around the Lofoten Islands at this time of year, in the mid-19th century, some estimates say as many as 30,000 people would make their way up here to fish, many of them making the journey in open boats. Before we set off this morning, I managed to get a look at some of the kit they would have used.
I want to give you an idea of how tough these guys were. Come with me. Now, time's gone by. Their lives and their livelihoods depended on the most basic equipment. There was no sat-navs, no nylons, no plastics. Everything they had was weaved by hand. Now, before this village and the dwellings were built, the fishing huts, these boats were everything to these guys. You'd have 4 people in here, they'd be rowing. The seas out there, have you seen the size of the seas? Like, this is the winter, the cod come here in winter. The waves are enormous. And by day, this was the fishing boat. In the afternoon, they'd drag this up onto the shore, turn it upside down, and it would actually be where they'd sleep. Like, these Norwegians are tough, tough people. However, when engines came into existence, they couldn't turn the boats upside down anymore. So it's only then that they began to build the fishing huts. Now, you know I said earlier in our traditional fishing hut that I'm staying in? Just to prove it, this is from 125 years ago. They lived and they worked in the same space. Now look at this guy up the top. There'd actually be 2 people sleeping in a small bed, and, this is the interesting bit, they built the beds undersized so that they didn't sleep too long. It's just, for a modern day person, it's quite difficult to actually understand how these guys lived. It's very impressive.
Back out on the water with our high-tech rods, fish finder, and dressed in our nice warm suits, I'm keenly aware that modern technology has turned what was once incredible hardship into, well, for me anyway, one of the best ways imaginable to spend a day.
We're back in the spot that we first hit, so I reckon I'm going to get a bite almost as soon as I hit the bottom. Oh yes, what did I say? I love making predictions.
Will we dinner tonight?
Yes. Oh yeah, I can see it. Oh wow, look at it come up through the water. Oh, that's luck.